Good morning. I am going to do a presentation on a favorite book of mine. Now, since I've been doing my master's degree in the last year and a bit, there hasn't been a book that has hit me quite this hard, so I'm going to speak about it all on its own. However, in the future, I will start to include other authors. This learning for me is so huge that I just need to speak about this book right now. The book is called The Boy Who Was Raised as a Dog, and Other Lessons from a Psychiatrist's Notebook: What Traumatized Children Can Teach Us About Life, Loss, and Healing. The authors are this beautiful lady, Maya Shelavet. She is extraordinary in terms of how she works with children, and I have yet to learn more about her, so that's what I'm going to be doing after this presentation, researching more about Maya. This person here is the second author. His name is Dr. Bruce Perry. I've watched some videos on him and I'm about to experience some training videos with him. I'm very excited about what he has to offer and how he teaches about the brain, what is happening in the brain when a child is traumatized. That's so important to me as a frontline worker, someone who has been there in emergency situations when there hasn't been a counselor around to help a child move through something. As an educator, I want some tools that I can use to help the child heal rather than stay stuck in the trauma at that moment. That is why I'm excited about this book. The context of discussions that this text is contributing to is it offers insight into what's happening for a child while in trauma or while being triggered into a past trauma. In the past 5 years, I met several children who were triggered, disassociated, and who suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder. Their trauma showed up in school in many forms. For example, I found a student sitting underneath a desk in withdrawal mode, refusing to talk, write, read, or do any activities. It was at that time where there were only 2 educators, no counselors, and a child stuck underneath a table. That is why strategies are important for people like myself when in those situations, because we cannot leave those kids underneath the table. This conversation is important because children are truly waiting for us. They're ready to meet safe adults who can help them heal, who can help them have relationships, and who can help them learn. I chose this picture as a part of my presentation because of not of the obvious signs that we see in the picture where there's garbage on the ground, a dirty broken down washing machine, and the house that's falling apart. But truly what hurts me the most is that this girl is sitting all by herself. She has no parents, no aunt or uncle, no cousins, no one to play with her and pay attention to her and give her the nurturing and the love that she needs. This often is a story that I hear and have heard in my classroom or in my office. The nature of trauma. Well, most people believe that if children are smiling and saying they're okay, that they're okay. The fact is that most children don't want to be a burden, just as much as adults don't. Dr. Bruce Perry and Maya Shelavet state how long trauma has been in society's awareness. They state, "It's hard to imagine today, but when I was in medical school in the early 1980s, researchers didn't pay attention to the lasting damage that psychological trauma can produce. Even less consideration was given to how trauma might harm children. It wasn't considered relevant. Children were believed to be naturally resilient with an innate ability to bounce back." Trauma and disassociated children. So during disassociation, the brain prepares the body for injury. Blood is shunted away from the limbs, and the heart rate slows to reduce blood loss from wounds. A flood of androgynous opiates, the brain's natural heroin-like substances, is released, killing pain, producing calm, and a sense of psychological distance from what is happening. Disassociated children quite obviously are not paying attention. They seem to be daydreaming or spacing out, rather than focusing on schoolwork. And indeed, they have tuned out the world around them. Hyper-aroused youth can look hyperactive or inattentive because what they are attending to is the teacher's tone of voice or the other children's body language, not the content of their lessons. Whether a child has made me wait 5 minutes or 12 months to gain their trust and respect, no matter how long they make me wait, every time I meet a child in trauma, this is what I see. This is why I've chosen this picture as a part of my presentation. It's truly heartbreaking to see children like that. Some examples of trauma that children go through are sexual abuse, witnessing the murder of a parent or parents, victims of natural disaster, death of a parent or a sibling, witnessing life-threatening accidents or injuries, ongoing physical abuse and or neglect, or the domestic violence or any other violent crime, and alcoholism, substance abuse, and all forms of addictive behaviors. These are things that can cause trauma in children's lives. So here are some strategies that we can use, someone like myself who's working with children on the front line. Children need predictability, routine, and a sense of control, and stable relationships with supportive people. This means establishing order, setting up clear boundaries, improving cross-organizational communication, and limiting the mental health staff who could regularly be there for the children. To calm a frightened child, you must first calm yourself. Relationships matter. The currency for systematic change was trust, and trust comes through forming healthy working relationships. People, not programs, change people. Many young victims of abuse and neglect need physical stimulation, like being rocked and gently held, comfort seemingly appropriate to far younger children. We don't interact with these children that are in trauma based on their age, but based on what they need, what they may have missed out on during their sensitive periods of development. We need to listen, pay close attention to the children themselves. What I gained from this book is that when children are in trauma or triggered, they don't need a counselor. They need caring, safe adults who can help them feel safe. They need nurturing. They need soft voices and gentleness. This is absolutely doable for someone like myself. I chose this picture as a part of ending my presentation because when we truly love children and provide safe relationships with them and teach them, for instance, there were several elders a part of teaching these children that you see in this photo here how to sing 4 songs and dance the dances that accompany those songs. The pride that these students felt in dancing and singing for their parents and the community was truly through the roof. They couldn't wait to dance, and they still can't wait until the following year to do so. This school, however, only goes to grade 4, so the grade 4 students are often heartbroken that in grade 5 they won't be dancing Cinqua for their community. We really need to provide students more opportunities to feel good about who they are in school. What is also needed is we need to support the parents of the students that we serve, to become the kind of parents that they want to be and continue to be the parents that they want to be, that they wish and desire and dream of. This parent here is connecting with her children really truly through nature. As you can see, the connection through the butterflies and the sunshine, their hearts and their souls are truly connected, and parent is teaching the children how to be good human beings. We truly need this as a partnership, working together to make our children better, to help our children heal. Now, I'm kind of biased on this book. I told you before in the last year and a bit that I've been reading lots of different authors share their thoughts. There hasn't been a book that has hit me quite this hard. So I don't think this book needs improving. The way that our planet cares for children and educates children is what I have issue with. Some questions that is presented by Maya Shelovitz and Dr. Bruce Perry are as follows, and I like their questions, so that's why I'm going to end on that note. What else can we do to protect children from trauma, neglect, and abuse? And how can we best help those who get hurt? For one, we need to recognize our current policies and practices do not put relationships first, and that the current systems in place to help children don't work. We need to acknowledge that many of the solutions we currently have for social problems do not effectively address them and may exacerbate them in the long run. We need to understand what we evolved and to need and then work on ways to provide those things in the modern world. A child's brain needs more than words and lessons and organized activities. It needs love and friendship and the freedom to play and daydream. Our educational system and our society's general disregard for the importance of relationships is undermining the development of empathy. Like language, empathy is fundamental. A fundamental capacity of the human species, one that helps define what being a human being is. So again, I just want to reiterate how important this book has been to me in terms of giving me some really clear ideas about what's happening inside of the child's brain while in trauma or being triggered, and how I can help. Now, one of the coolest things that I also feel like I learned, and I showed you the picture in the very first slide where Dr. Bruce Perry is sitting in front of a picture of a brain. Dr. Bruce Perry taught me that a person's body doesn't stop growing until between the ages of 12 and 19. That's when a person's body stops growing, where it's reached its fullest potential. A person's brain is at its full potential by the time they're 3 years old. So if a child has been experiencing trauma from the time they've been born until 3, the impact is so great. And that's often what we're left to deal with in the classroom or in an office when working or trying to teach children how to read. So we really need to consider all these factors. Thank you so much for listening.